been turned down. He wanted to bring an action in the District of Columbia, and the U.S. attorney there said, no, you can't. And then you go tell the United States Senate under oath that he has complete authority.
I'm going to say again that no one had the authority to turn him down. They could refuse to partner with him. They could not.
You can use whatever language. Refuse to partner is turning down.
Mr. Attorney General, my colleague just said that you should be held in contempt of Congress, and that is quite rich, because the guy who's leaving the hearing room right now, Mr. Jordan, is about 500 days into evading his subpoena. About 500 days. So if we're going to talk about contempt of Congress, let's get real. I mean, are you serious?
You know, sometimes you're watching these hearings and end up screaming at the TV like it was a live football game, hoping that someone, anyone, calls out the hypocrisy in real time. Well, today, prayer meet answer.
State two facts. The people who showed up on January 6th to attack the nation's capital were supporters of Donald Trump. They attacked the Capitol to stop Congress from certifying the fact that Donald Trump lost the election. Those two facts were so horrible that some in the right-wing media and some Republican members of Congress could not handle that, so they made up conspiracy theories. In fact, Donald Trump called January 6th a beautiful day. He said the people who showed up had love in their hearts. The Republican member of Congress said January 6th was like a normal tourist visit. And some Republicans have said there were no weapons used on January 6th.
You guys know Jim Jordan, right? Well, today he was on one. He pressed Merrick Garland, stating the quote, fact that he and his fellow deluded colleagues have presented time and time again, no matter how many times they're disputed.
I've never been suggested.
My point's real simple, Mr. Garland. You said he had complete authority, but he'd already been turned down. He wanted to bring an action in the District of Columbia, and the U.S. attorney there said, no, you can't. And then you go tell the United States Senate under oath that he has complete authority. What I'm wondering is why you guys let the statute of limitations lapse for those tax years that dealt with Burisma income.
But Merrick Garland himself, first of all, wasn't willing to just sit there and be presented with these, which yet again, for those in the back, show no concrete evidence of President Biden's direct involvement. Who was overseeing that investigation again?
There's one more fact that's important, and that is that this investigation was being conducted by Mr. Weiss, an appointee of President Trump. You will, at the appropriate time, have the opportunity to ask Mr. Weiss that question, and he will no doubt address it in the public report that will be transmitted to the Congress.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
That was just a warm-up. After Jordan's time was up, Eric Swalwell was on hand, double-handed actually, with matching iPads, to call out the blatant hypocrisy of a man who has failed to comply with a subpoena, complaining about someone not complying.
Mr. Attorney General, my colleague just said that you should be held in contempt of Congress, and that is quite rich, because the guy who's leaving the hearing room right now, Mr. Jordan, is about 500 days into evading his subpoena. About 500 days. So if we're going to talk about contempt of Congress, let's get real. I mean, are you serious that Jim Jordan, a witness to one of the greatest crimes ever committed in America, a crime where more prosecutions have occurred than any crime committed in America, refuses to help his country, and we're going to get lectured about subpoena compliance and contempt of Congress? Jim Jordan won't even honor a lawful subpoena? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? There's no credibility on that side. Mr. Attorney General, you are serious, they are not. You are decent, they are not. You are fair, they are not. So I welcome you to the law firm of Insurrection LLP, where they work every single day on behalf of one client, Donald Trump. And they do that at the expense of millions of Americans who need the government to stay open, who want their kids safe in their schools, and would like to see Ukraine stay in the fight so that we don't help Russia. That's the expense that this nonsense, this clown show, I'd call it a clown show, except they actually have real responsibilities that affect real Americans. It's the difference between one side that believes in governing and one side that believes in ruling.
And of course, another area of hypocrisy in the impeachment of Hunter Biden, I think, the mere matter of billions that Jared Kushner came into, that not a single Republican has mentioned or spoke about in their shameless attempts to distract from their own party's turmoil.
This is a clown show.
That come from the Senate?
It's hard to pass everything in this place. We started out on a 5-seat majority,
I got one member who's now resigned. We got a couple members who are out as well. Anything we do is pretty tough in life. But you know what? This country is too great and too big to give up, and I'm never going to give up on it.
So we had a pretty remarkable moment on the floor today. It's a little procedurally dense, but basically there's a thing called the rule, which is something that's passed by the party in control of the House, usually by a party line vote, to move to an appropriations. This was the rule for the DOD appropriations. Should be safe sledding. What happened?
That's right, Chris. It's a pretty dire situation. We are witnessing a full-scale paralysis among House Republicans where divisions within the party are fully grinding the chamber to a halt. They are not able to pass long-term government funding bills. They're not able to pass a short-term government funding bill, even though it is loaded up with conservative priorities that the hard right wants. And they're not even able to pass this so-called rule to debate a defense funding bill that they support. And the reason is these hard right Republicans want assurances from Speaker McCarthy about how this appropriations process is going to end once it gets to President Biden's desk. Assurances that Speaker McCarthy is simply in no position to make. They control the House, Democrats control the Senate, Democrats control the White House. Now it gets even worse, Chris, because what Republicans are fighting about is bills that have no chance of becoming law. This is simply a messaging bill. All these bills we're talking about are just messaging bills that, if passed, would represent the House Republicans' opening bid for negotiations. If these hard right members on the Republican conference are unhappy with what's in them now, they're going to be even more unhappy with what's in them by the time they end up making it to President Biden's desk. And that's where Speaker McCarthy's Rubik's Cube is. There is no way, it seems at this moment, for him to bridge that divide.
Which Representative Johnson reminded them of.
Have no answer for why they want to focus and obsess on Hunter Biden receiving $2 million from Burisma after serving on a board that he said he was not qualified to serve on, but yet the Saudi Arabians gave $2 billion to Jared Kushner, who conducted Middle East strategy for his dear old dad, Donald Trump. He got $2 billion for something that he is not equipped to do, which is investment banking. And so Republicans looking at Hunter Biden instead of Jared Kushner, Americans don't understand how that could be.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.